Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, Galactic Classics, Non-Classics. This is episode number 3286, Doubleshot number 3180. Yep. We pretty much have like two really big books here. First up, it is G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Compendium, Book 1. Now, I heard the story about this one is that this was able to be produced by Skybound due to a Kickstarter. You're thinking, really? A Kickstarter? Yes, believe it or not, Image did Kickstarter, and that's how they would publish this damn thing. Yeah, actually, more like Skybound. I would have thought, though, Hasbro would have given the money to do this, given the fact that they had licensed to publish this thing, but yeah. Believe it or not, so now, unlike in the case of Transformers Compendium, which that contained the first 46 issues of an 80-issue comic book, along with the Transformers Headmasters miniseries, this one in particular collects the first 50 issues out of 155. Now, lucky enough, I already discussed basically the first 10 issues in G.I. Joe Classic. Of course, written by Larry Hama, who writes pretty much almost this entire frickin' series, except for like 5 or 6 issues. Still writing it after 40 years, still writing this damn thing. Now, in The Devil's Due, when it was published by Devil's Due, now you're probably thinking, was that period of time published by Larry Hama? Yes, he did write it. But Hasbro deemed that to be non-canon to the Marvel continuity of G.I. Joe. So, we're starting off with, now, in the case of 11 to 50. Now, throughout these, now, you see on the cover here, you see Cobra Commander in this mask here. Every other issue, he wears this mask or the mask inspired by the KKK. And he swaps those throughout a lot of this period of time. So you have a lot of missions going on here, some noteworthy issues in here after issue 10. Issue 20 is the debut of Duke. That's where Duke shows up. Issue 21 is Larry Hama's favorite issue of the whole series. An issue that's been reprinted called a Silent Interlude. This issue is noteworthy for the debut of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Of course, we have Springfield in here. We also see the debut of Dr. Mindbender, Major Sebastian Blood. Some more familiar characters, because unlike in the case of the animated series, which aired around the same period of time as this comic book. Now, this comic book was launched purely to promote the toy line, and of course, also there was the animated series that aired starting back in 1982, and I think it was published. I think it was produced by Sunbound. I think it was Sunbound Studios. I think because it was also produced by Marvel Comics. I think it was. Yes, I think it was. So basically, without this series, we would not have the Transformers ongoing series, which published 2 years later. So, after a long series of missions, basically, for G.I. Joe, around leading up to issue 50, we have basically the comic origin story for Serpentor, the Emperor of the Cobra organization, which in the comic book he's a figurehead, in the show he's the actual Emperor. Now, they use the same DNA as the ones they use in the show, except the last piece in the show. Now, in the comic book, they use Storm Shadow as the last piece DNA they use to create Serpentor in the comic book. In the show, you're gonna not believe this, who they picked. Okay, which great warrior did they pick to use their DNA for the creation of Serpentor? No, WWE wrestler Sergeant Slaughter. Yes, who in the show definitely was a drill sergeant. Yes, given the fact that the real life guy who is Sergeant Slaughter, he of course is not. He was never served military. It was basically a gimmick. The only, there's been technically 2 or 3 people who have been wrestlers, who actually are wrestlers, who have served military. The only ones I can personally think of who have been successful at being wrestlers is Randy Orton, though he had dishonorable discharge, Bobby Lashley, Steve Macklin, yeah, he's definitely, If you look up, he did serve military. I think he served in Afghanistan, from what I heard. Lacey Evans, she served in the Marines. I'm trying to think, there was anybody else who served in military who was a wrestler. That's the ones I can think of. Heck, at one point, get this. Now, also in here, we see the debut of Zartania. You're thinking, who the heck is that? That is Zartan's beautiful pink-haired sister. And also, we see the developing relationship between Destro and the Baroness, which we even see in the book, the Baroness seeing Destro's real face. Now, the thing with Destro is that if you read all the comics he's featured in, you never see his real face. Now, in story, the reason why, because it's basically a family thing where a lot of the members wear masks. And in the case of what the actual reason was in real life, I have no idea. Yes, of course, there was a version of Destro that popped up in the G.I. Joe movie, played by Ninth Doctor actor Christopher Eccleston. Instead of putting on the mask like a tease, they decided to make his face silver for some reason. And there's a joke about in the sequel where Cobra Commander tells Destro, even though Destro's not really there, Destro, you're out of the band. I still think the line was so funny. But there's no denying, if you read this book, like, this is pure American Army badassness at its finest. Because Larry Hama does an excellent job with this book. And I give the G.I. Joe Rainmaker Hero Compendium Book 1 a 10 out of 10. This book is amazing. Of course, he's not the only person on the creative team in this book. We also have Herb Trampham, Steve Grant, Bob Camp. Of course, Larry Hama also has some artwork here too. Don Perlin, Frank Spengler, Jeff Isherwood. Herbert Trampham also has artwork too. John Byrne, Claus Johnson, Mary Severn, M.D. Bright passed away just last year. Mac Golden, met this guy, cool guy. Mike Zeck, met him too. Russ Heath, and Rod Willingham. Daniel Neal did serve as one of the editors of this book. And this is the other mask, basically, that's what I'm wearing. But this book is amazing, and I can't wait for when they do book 2. Now, the next book is, it's a book for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is Teenage Mutant Turtles Amazing Adventures Omnibus. Now, this book in particular, it's not as long as the Compendium. Compendium was like over 1,500 pages, about 1,500 pages. This is like 412. This is Teenage Mutant Turtles Amazing Adventures Omnibus. This was the second series for that was adapted in the continuity of the 2012 Teenage Mutant Turtles series, where this lasted for 14 issues. This book, which I have covered the last 2 in separate review, and there's also the Robot Mutanimals miniseries, which was 3 issues. Yeah, for an omnibus, it doesn't collect a lot. It's more like what Marvel does for their Epic collections, where it's like it's roughly like 17 issues. Yes, so it's a lot of like standalone stories, which these are your stories. Zodiac, which this is one involving where Shredder has to team up with basically the Turtles deal with the return of the Zodiac. Volcano Time, Xenage, Mutant Turtles. Matter of fact, this was, I think, a return of Brunette to the story. Meeting the Mutanimals, Freaks and Frogs, Donnie finds the Relic. Time for Return. I think this is the one where features Brunette. Quiet Please, The Tournament, Job Security, You Win Some, Lose Some. Kabugashacha. That was basically that was a catchphrase Michelangelo delivered in the show before he basically adapted Cowabunga from Mondo Gecko, who was voiced by, if I remember correctly, I think he was voiced by the guy who was the live-action voice actor for Michelangelo in the 90s movies. Frogs of War, I believe this is the one featured the comic debut of, in this continuity, of Napoleon Bullfrog, who was a character from the 87 show, which I don't remember appearing on the 2012 show. Mini Middlehead, this was an issue where we have April training because she's a Kanochi with her fan and falls on a crack. So Donatello, the turtle's got a crush on her, to send down a mini Metalhead to retrieve it, which is a mini little adventure, and we see a tease of Billy Metalhead. Fly meets the moon. Muck, which I'm sure it's probably basically a play on Muck Time, which was the, if I remember correctly, I believe this was the first episode of season 2 of the original series, Star Trek, which is noteworthy for a debut of Chekhov and the planet Vulcan. A Day in the Life, Eyewitness Ceremony, The Drip, Intrusive Metal. Remember that one time, and Robot Animals, basically. So, who was the creative team behind these issues? Zodiac is Landry D. Walker, art by Chad Thomas. Volcano Time is written, drawn, lettered by James Koloska. The Xenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, that's Caleb Goldner, Chad Thomas, Nolan Van Sciver. I wonder if it's related to Ethan Van Sciver. Medium Animals, Matthew D. G. Manning, who not only does that one, but he also does The Frogs of War, Eyewitness Ceremony, A Day in the Life. As for Chad Thomas, he does some of the artwork in here. So, Freaks and Frogs is Ben Costa. I wonder if it's related to Mike Costa. Diane Fonzog is written and drawn by Sonia Grace, which is, the story was not bad. I actually mind the story. The stuff like Sonia Grace's very bad reputation he's had. Peter Dreco, who does Tea Time for a Turtle. Ian Flynn, who does Quiet Please. Ian Flynn also does Job Security, Kabuyasha. And I think that's it. There's also Faye Rego, who does a tournament. Caleb Gunner, who does You Win Some, You Lose Some. Fly Me the Moon, Mini Middlehead, Muck, Instrumental, and Robot Animals. Caleb Gunner, who does, I already mentioned him. But yeah, this book was really, really good. And I do have one more book left to go for the 2012 continuity, because I have covered the crossover with Batman, of course now this one, and the team up in the Mutant Animals book. So the only book left to go for this continuity is New Anime Adventures. And that's it. Now, I do know there is about 2 or 3 different mini-series that go on this Libby app that basically has the Turtles, but we'll find out more about it soon. But I feel like reviewing G.I. Joe with Turtles because they're both awesome. That's the main reason to review them. But in the case of G.I. Joe, I'm replacing that with, well, basically what I'm still going to review G.I. Joe, obviously. What I'm probably going to do is do the Remake and Hero books published by Skybound first, which I think there's about 2 of them. I think there is. Yeah, I think it's 2 or 3. And then I'm going to do Void Rivals and Transformers. For Turtles, I think there's about 2 or 3 mini-series left, and that'll be done with this one. Yep. But yeah, that's been pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like and subscribe to notifications. Next up, the Shy Hero and the Assassin Princesses. Okay, next video. Bye.